Welcome to Perfect-ish, where it's not about having perfect time management, but about perfecting your relationship with time. I'm your host, Callie Brigham, and every week we'll talk all things time and how to maximize it without burnout or guilt. Whether we're chatting with an expert or I'm sharing my 20 years of time management experience, you'll learn simple strategies to make every moment count. Here, it's all about getting close to perfect-ish. So let's synchronize our watches and dive in. Well, hi, friend. Today's guest is someone I clicked with instantly, and it's not just her cute dimple. You'll see that in a minute, but you're going to know why once you get to meet my friend, Maura. Now, she is a woman after my own heart. I was thinking about the things that we love: food, bubbly, travel, and especially keeping it real on social media. So she'll share a little bit about her journey, but she spent 15 years in the food and beverage and hospitality industries. You'll be able to see that shine through her. And a lot of those years were in dreamy Napa Valley. I know we're all jealous. And I'm telling you, this girl has done it all. Production, sales, events, and for the past 7 years, she's been a powerhouse in social media strategy, which is one of the many reasons that I invited her on here with us today. But Maura is not just here to talk about posting pretty pictures or pretty reels or pretty carousels or anything that's going on right now in the social media world. She is more on a mission to help personal brands, which is you are your own personal brand, to thrive by showing up authentically and strategically online. And trust me, she's already given me some genius ideas that are changing the game, and I know she's going to do that for you today too. So whether you're looking to level up in any area, or you want to be genuine with your connections, or you just want to hang with somebody who is inspiring and fun, then I know that this episode is for you. And just as excitingly as all the rest, this is her very first podcast guesting on. So please welcome to Perfect-ish, my wonderful friend, Maura Postlethwait. Did I say it right?
Yes. That was perfection.
Perfection. That's
yes.
Okay. That's what I aim for. I don't always hit it, Maura, but I try.
You did it perfectly. Yes. That is definitely my name. And I'm so excited to be here and share all of my expertise and where I've come from and now what I'm planning to do moving forward. So thank you so much for having me today. I'm super excited.
We're going to have a great time. And I can't think of a better group of people to support you and be excited for you on your very first podcast episode than the Perfect-ish audience. Trust me, they're going to love you. And just for fun, as we're getting started, when you all see her name written out, and as a good host, right before this, I was like, okay, I mean, I know how to say her name, but will you just say it for sure? And I meant really your last name, because that is a mouthful, Postlethwait, but it's like got a lot of extra letters in there and stuff. But I was making sure that I was saying your first name right. And I think you have a little bit of a story there too. And you started to share it, but I said, wait, we got to wait for the recording. So Maura, tell us a little bit about your actual name before we get to our topic today.
Yeah, definitely. So I always joke, because a big question, like you said, is how do you even say your last name? There's a silent TH in there and it's long. And I always joke, I had a really rough time in kindergarten because my middle name's Elizabeth. So my whole name didn't even fit on the sheet of paper, right? And so, but then as I started to grow up, I started realizing I was even shifting how I was saying my name. And so in the beginning of my many years of life, I always said my name is Maura. So I'd be like, hey, my name is Maura. And I would introduce myself that way in the neighborhood. So like all of my neighborhood friends call me Maura still to this day. My aunts and uncles, a lot of my cousins, they all say Maura in some different way, shape, or form. And then when I got into more like customer service and hospitality, for some reason, like when answering the phone as like a hostess, or like when I was working at a winery, I'd be like, hello, this is Maura. And of course, they always thought I said Laura. So I'm like, why did I do this to myself? And so one day,
identity crisis.
For real. Like I totally had it. But I just thought, okay, well, this is just apparently how I'm saying my name now. when I moved to California. So it was like, okay, this is how we're doing it. And I asked my parents one day, and I was like, so did you want my name to be Maura or Maura? Because they kind of go back and forth too. Like when I'm thinking about it, I was like, I think my dad says Maura and my mom says Maura or something, like they were going back and forth.
No.
And so I asked them one day, like, what is my actual name? Like when I was born, what did you want it to be? And they were like,
So you're an adult asking your parents, what is my actual name?
yes, I was probably like 25. This wasn't that long ago. And
Definitely an adult. Like, what is my name? Yeah.
Yeah, because everyone kept asking me, like, how do you say it? How do you say it? And so it was so funny. So I called my mom up and I was like, so can you please tell me how you want me to say my name? And she was like, well, okay, here's the story. So your dad and I, we were kind of fighting over what your name was going to be. Was it going to be Maura or Mara? So we thought, well, let's spell it Maura, like how you see it here, like Laura with an M. And then let's pronounce it Maura.
No, that is not helping.
I know. So I was like, well, thanks, because now I'm just confused. So anytime someone asks me, I just say, whatever flows. Like if it comes off Maura, say that. If it comes off Maura, say that. And so because it was like, I did it to myself even too. But yeah, so like my one aunt calls me Mara Beth, and like I always like respond to that as well. So it's just really funny that, yeah, when you asked it, I was like, oh yeah, that's like a long answer.
That is
Question.
Well, what's so funny is a lot of times people say, oh, whichever one you prefer. If they have a nickname, either one's fine. But they literally, in your case, either one is going to work. And thanks a lot, mom and dad.
I know.
You did not make this any less confusing. So we can kind of call you whatever we want.
Yes.
Mara, like now I don't even know what I'm going to call you, but I'm going to do my best.
People get confused. I'm like, well, I'm just confusing everyone. So I say whatever flows, like whatever comes out. As long as it's not Moira, that's what I say. Do not call me the woman from Schitt's Creek. I apologize. She's an amazing character, but I don't want my name to be that.
Well, we're going to let her stand alone because she is an icon in her own right.
Yes.
And you, Maura, are an icon in your own right. So we're going to separate the two. I've heard you call yourself Maura, so that's what I'm calling you. And
Yes.
y'all can call her, and you literally will be able to connect with her however you want. But we're going to save that for just a little bit. All right. So now that we know a little bit about your name, I do want to know a little bit about your story, because I know that it has been a journey. I know it's been an evolution. You heard, if you were listening, that you've had, different jobs that really kind of, I think, have led you to where you are today. But we want to know a little bit of the background. And I know, just so you guys know, we're going to jump into how do you have authentic content and how do you, not burn out in this social media world. We're going to get to that stuff. But I think these stories are important because we can hear ourselves and see ourselves in other people's stories. And I know you've got a good one, Maura. So yeah, tell us a little bit about the why behind the brand and who you are today.
Yeah, definitely. I'm excited to share. So I grew up in Saratoga Springs, New York. And for those of you who don't know, it's known for horse racing. So I basically, right when I turned 14 and a half, I started applying to work at the Saratoga racetrack. So I could start working there when I was 15 and was like a popcorn and cotton candy girl. So at the time, too, there was no POS system. So you were literally just doing mental math and selling popcorn and cotton candy. So I started out there and had some other jobs there as well. But I always say, now I'm 30, so I've been working in hospitality for 15 years because I've really been in it. The only jobs I've ever had were always in hospitality. So I started there. And when I went off to college, I was trying to study occupational therapy and thought I wanted to get into working with kids because I always wanted to help people. It was really in my heart. And so, but unbeknownst to me, I got diagnosed with celiac disease in 2013. So right in January of my freshman year of college. And that kind of put me on a totally different track that I think it really was the turning point and where I'm at today. And so that's why I like to share it, because I think anytime something happens in your life, you kind of think like, okay, why is this happening to me? Exactly. And how can I help other people in my situation? And so I decided to go into nutrition and dietetics from there. So I switched my career path, went into nutrition and dietetics. And at the time I was in at SUNY Plattsburgh. It was cold. You are getting lots of snow. It was something that maybe wasn't for me because I don't always love the snow. I like sunshine. So I transferred out to a school in California and quickly realized that I really wanted to get into the food scene instead. So instead of going into like helping people stay back in the hospital or something to that degree, I learned about how food happened, like basically what nutrition is versus food science is. Nutrition is the study of food inside of your body, and food science is the study of food outside of your body. So I thought it would be really interesting to figure out, okay, how do I make a product that's gluten free, that's safe for with celiac to eat, and that's really good. And so that was always something that I was really fascinated about. So switched my career to food science, and then ended up in the like more food and beverage industry. I was working at the cafe and like on campus at the time too. So still in hospitality this entire time. And then decided that maybe I should get into wine. I was drinking a lot of wine, but you know, in college, you're drinking like the boxes of Franzia and these giant jugs of who knows what's in it. It's like whatever you can afford is $5, you know? And I was like, I should probably know what is in wine and why I should maybe spend some more money on this. Like, what is it doing inside my body as I'm digesting it? But of course, I couldn't drink beer or anything else that would be maybe cheaper, higher quality for a cheaper price. And so I was like, the one always bringing wine to the party, which is still the case to this day, but I usually bring something a little bit nicer. And so, so I started looking at internships like, okay, with food science, I can go into winemaking. And I was like, well, that seems really freaking cool. You know, like, why not be a winemaker? And then fastly realized once I actually got an internship in 2016 to study like more of the winemaking side, I was a lab intern at Behringer, which I think a lot of maybe some of your listeners might know. So I was doing like all the lab research for 2016 harvest in Napa Valley. And that's what kind of brought me there when I graduated college. And so I did a harvest internship there. Started learning more about wine, was doing research on like St. Clement, Sterling Vineyards, all of Treasury Wine Estates brands. We were running the samples of that during harvest. And then was like, I don't really like to be stuck in a box. Like I felt like I was in a box, you know, when I was in the lab. And I was like, if you know me, you know that I love to talk and I love to just like jibber jabber and like, hey, how's it going? What's up? All these things. And so I was like, yeah, this is not for me, but this got me here and I want to stay here because I feel like there's something really special about Napa Valley and I want to continue learning about wine and like what makes it important and all the things. And I found it so interesting. So I started to then took on like a tasting room job where I worked for, again, probably another company that a lot of you might know, Jam Cellars. They do butter Chardonnay, jam Cabernet, all of that. And I loved it. I loved like being in front of people and all these things, but I was like, okay, I'm still feeling like I should know more. And so at this point, I kind of knew like front of house, back of house, but I didn't really know like marketing. But I always found that to be interesting in events. And I was like, well, I'd be really good at events if I know how to pour wine and talk about wine. So thankfully, this company, after doing another internship, but fast forward another year, they took me on as more of like an admin assistant for marketing and events. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to get my foot in the door, work really hard, try to work my way up, learn everything I can, and see where that takes me. And so that was Robert Bialy Vineyards, which is still one of my clients today. Love the team there so much. And so that started my trajectory into social media. So this is a very long story, but basically what happened is I wasn't making as much money as I wanted to, and California is very expensive. And so I was like, how can I make more money? And at the time they had a social media contractor, and I was like, well, I'm a millennial. Like I was like 23. And I was like, I could do this. If you pay me an extra hour, can I take on the social media? And they're like, okay. And I broke it down. I was like, you're going to save X amount of money and blah, blah, blah. And they're like, okay, fine. Yes, you can take on social media. So I started doing that and then ended up taking on events, ended up helping out with Wine Club. And so at that point, like you said, I've kind of done it all. And I was like, okay, I still feel like I'm destined for more though. Like there's something more. And so, and I had never traveled or taken any time, like my paid time off was always coming back to see family in New York. And I was like, I want to travel and I want to experience more and help more people. And I was seeing success on social media for Art Bialy Vineyards. We were selling wine in the DMs, like all during COVID and everything. And I was like, I want to help more people do this. Like, how do I help more people make money and build authenticity online and build their loyal following? And I reached out to this gentleman who had done a presentation basically for Bialy. And I was like, will you be my mentor? I know you have your own business and I really want to learn more. And he really pushed me. He's absolutely amazing. And I thank him every day because he didn't charge me one single cent. And he helped me push me towards social media marketing. He's like, you're a millennial, do social media marketing. It's an easy way to make fast cash when you're just starting your own business. And so that's how I kind of got into that whole like social media. I decided just to focus on social media and try to get really good at it because I wanted to focus and become really good at something. And so that's how I got into creating social media. And I was good at hospitality. And I was like, I'm going to niche in that like wine, food, hotel kind of industry because I know how to talk about it. I can answer questions online of like, how do you make wine? Like I can answer that for you. If you have questions about what it tastes like, I knew the wine so well. And so it was just really not easy, but it was in a way because I knew the content. And then I started getting more clients and more clients. And once you start really believing in yourself, I think things start to come. So I basically started my business technically in November 2020, but officially in 2021. And then quit my 9 to 5 and then brought them on as a client in May of 2021. And so then I had like 2 clients basically at the time, like not really making a lot of money. I was like, nope, I believe in myself. It's going to happen. I'm taking the leap. It's going to all work out. And so one of my biggest things, I think we've talked about this too, is that I always tell people, like, if you have a dream, if there's something that you're trying to go after, take the leap because you can always go back to something else. Like there's always a backup. There's millions of jobs in this world. Like if you take a leap on yourself and it doesn't work, then there's always something to go back on, but really like put in the effort to like go after what you want. And things just start coming. Like I started getting emails. Like I just sent out a couple of texts, started my own thing, email from referrals. And it was like game over. It was like nonstop, right? So that's how I kind of got into it and then just started learning more and more and developing myself as a business owner and social media marketer. So yeah, that's my story. Very long story short.
But there's so many good parts to it, Maura. And I don't know if you've heard this phrase, to be glad I did instead of wish I had. Mm-hmm. And so when you were saying that, like of taking the leap, and here we are, kind of into the new year already. And I think that somebody probably listening has something that they're thinking about doing. Maybe it feels risky. Maybe it feels like a departure of something else, but everything you talked about, it was preparing you for the next step. Nothing was wasted, even though it wasn't your permanent home, for your career, for your calling. Each part built on it. So I think that's an encouragement that if somebody's there thinking, I'm not where I want to be yet, what I've done and what I'm doing can definitely align with where I want to go. And so I love that you believed in yourself. I wrote down that you asked for mentorship. That's a huge thing. And you've been mentoring me too. You've been helping me. So it's reciprocal. Mm-hmm. And I like to think of it, we have an arm stretched out where somebody is taking us with them. And then we have an arm stretched back where we're taking somebody with us. And you're going to be taking us with you today. So you're passing that on, Maura, with what you've been given. So yeah, I just love the knowing that the desire and feeling destined for more can cause you to just take those steps and go for it. And I think the last thing I'll say is it was one step at a time. See, I look at you today and where you are today, and a lot of times we just see it as this one giant leap, or you got lucky, but it wasn't. It was daily little steps, building connections, being willing to learn, putting yourself out there. And now here you are as our expert today. How cool is that?
It's kind of wild to think about it. It's like, I remember sitting in the back of a champagne bar, emailing this guy to ask me if he would be a mentor for me and meet him for coffee and everything. And I mean, it's just, you never know. Like, I always think it could be hard right now. 5 years from now, you're going to look back and be like, I'm so glad I did that. And like, I think we're always at a little bit of that place in life of like, okay, how can I be better? What should I do different? How can I transition? And being in the new year and everything too, it's like, how can I go after this stronger than I have in the past? Like, if there really is something, ask someone to be a mentor. There's so many people willing to just help you, put you in the right direction for free. Like, people are very nice. If they're not, you found the wrong person, okay? Like, I think that's just the thing. I got really lucky that the first person I asked wanted to be my mentor. But I think, if you believe in yourself, it's a lot about mindset. And I was like, I believe in myself. I'm going to do this. And it's hard every day as a business owner, as you know. Like, there are really hard days for sure. But you need to find like a community or other people that you can talk to. And so having a mentor that's been where you've been or similar really will help just get you to that next place. So to your point, it was every step. It was one of those things where there were so many steps I took that took a long time to get me to where I am. But I'm so thankful that I am where I am now.
And we are too. And you're going to mentor us for the next little bit in this sometimes scary, sometimes exciting, ever-changing social media world, this digital world. And so I know that what I've started to learn from you and observe from you and your clients is definitely an underlying theme of authenticity, right? So for the women that are listening who think, okay, I have a lot going on, a lot I'm juggling, a lot I'm doing, how do you first suggest that we start to show up online, maybe so that we don't feel overwhelmed, so we don't feel fake, right? I know that there's a lot of things that are trending. And so how do we do this so that we're still ourselves, but we're utilizing this very important tool of social media?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So it's so important, like you said, to be authentic these days. And I think there's a few things that I think really business minded or busy women can start doing. We have a lot going on. And some of you are moms and have that also added onto your plate, right? And so my biggest thing is like stories. Instagram stories are so important. And you know this too, Callie. It's like, if you can just show up once or twice in your day, like behind the scenes, what's going on, or like part of your morning routine, people get a little glimpse of who you are as a person, even by the text you put on there. Like, it could be something motivational, whatever, but stories and the reason why stories are the perfect place to show who you are is because it gives you the perfect opportunity to either add polls, questions, so people can ask you questions, and then that also makes your life a little easier because they're asking you the questions. You just have to answer it, right? It's as simple as adding a question sticker. Polls, you can get to know your audience really good this way. Like, are you enjoying this content, for example? Or like, do you take your coffee black or with milk? Like, it can be so simple. And then from there, people are like, oh, awesome, she's like me. Like, you start to build those relationships. And when they comment, if they add a heart or anything, it shows up into your DMs. That's your perfect opportunity of being like, hey girl, what's happening? Or like, hey, what's happening? Thanks so much for following along. Like, I'm so happy to have you here in my community. However you want to start out your community relationship. But I found that super important. And that's like my clients, for example, Art BLA Vineyards, that's where I've built all of my connections and like relationships of people that actually engage on the content as well. Or will be like, hey, I want this bottle of wine. Or, hey, I have a question about this. It's like, I can easily answer it in the DMs and they feel like, okay, they're getting a real human. And so I think that's one easy way where you don't have to post every day. And I think this is a huge thing that came out of my recent, back in like November, early December, 21-day challenge was even myself, I realized I can't even put out that much content. Like I can't put out that much in a week. And so you have to realize, like, is 2 posts a week manageable? Great. Like make one about yourself and one about something in your business, right? That will then help people if they're going to see like, okay, this is what she sells, or this is, what she's done for previous clients, like results driven, I think helps a lot. And that sort of thing, like bringing awareness to what you do. And then another one that's like, I'm so happy Friday, it's here, I'm enjoying, I'm taking time for myself, whatever that piece of you is that you want to share, and you can relate it to your business. But I think if you can figure out a way to find balance in posts and stories, that might be the best way to show up authentic online. But really stories is like key here. And it's simple as like taking out your phone. And I think I told you this recently too, is like take those stories, download them like before you add text, and then you can repurpose that for a reel where you can just put text over it. So then they're getting not only like the authentic content in your stories, but you can use that content later in the month or something. So it's still relevant, but you're just like repurposing it for us that are very busy. I've done this before and it works. It's like, it's making our lives a little easier. So that's what I would recommend.
Okay. I called you a genius at the beginning when and you are every time, Maura, there's like this one little thing. I'm like, oh, yeah, that absolutely makes sense. That is something that we can implement. It doesn't feel complicated. I mean, I do follow some gals on Instagram that are like, Instagram hack number 3,423. And it's like 45 steps with all of these little extra, hidden fonts. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like sweating. That's just so much. And what you're describing, I feel like also is the opposite of creating content. It's more documenting content, right? I'm not coming up with like, well, what in the world should I post? But if every morning you make a smoothie, like make your smoothie of the day. Or if you walk your dog, or if you're taking your kids to school, or that's really what you're saying. And I think also the beauty of it is people's stories are not perfect. Like reels might look really good with good fonts and great trending music, but like you don't have to mess with any of that in the story. So that's really a good place to start.
Yeah. And I think it's also one of those things too, like when Snapchat was a thing, I think some people still use it, but like you're literally, it's like you're messaging friends. You're just sending them a story like, this is what I'm doing right now, and people love that. And I think that's what people want to know. Like, why would I buy your free, or like, why not free, but why would I buy some template that you're selling? Or why would I buy a product from you if I don't even know, one, how you use it, or how do you implement it in your day, or like, what do you do during the day? It's like, how do you take your coffee simple? If you make a smoothie, that's awesome. Like, I think, and then you can just put text on it. And yeah, making it simple about bringing people through your day. And you don't have to have fancy equipment. I always tell people, like, I just use my hand and I'm like, hey, how's it going? So I'm here right now. Okay, have a great day. Like it can be super simple.
All right. That is gold right there, and something that we can all start today. It is. It's true. Sometimes I'll be sitting there, especially with somebody I don't know very well. I'm like, okay, I just watched her like do this whole thing about her. Like, I don't even know her. What am I doing watching how she packs her kids' lunches? Like, I don't even know her kids, but I'm still sucked into watching how she does that. Thinking like, I would never cut everything into little shapes and whatever. And I'm like down the rabbit hole. Okay. So that is fantastic. I love it. The stories, how we can talk to like a friend when we do it, and then we download it and we have all of our content forever. So good. So good. Okay. So this leads me to the next part, which would be, okay, great. I can incorporate my life. There's a lot going on. And social media can be 24/7. So, yikes. How do I set the right boundaries so I'm not burning out, but I'm still showing up? And I don't want to get to the point where I'm like, oh my gosh, I've got to take a month break because I've worn myself out. We don't want to get there. We want to maintain good boundaries. How do you teach your clients how to do that?
Yeah. So one thing that I do for my clients as part of like their scope of work is I engage on their account 30 minutes a day. So this also allows me to make time for other clients. But in the case of you're running your personal brand and you have your Instagram, you're just managing one, 30 minutes a day, even 15 can go a really long way. Because if you're taking that 15 minutes to engage with people, even if you didn't post, but you're putting on a story or you're engaging with someone that is in your audience, you're scrolling your feed for 15 minutes in the morning, or in the evening, it's like you're engaging, comment on people's like posts that have to do with something that you're a part of, or maybe it's some like potential client or even a friend. Like just start engaging. It looks good on Instagram's part because you're online and you're trying to build that community. And so I think like taking 15 to 30 minutes a day, again, what makes sense for you, as long as you're staying consistent in that time that you're spending, I think that's a huge way to set boundaries. And then another thing that I've even been trying to do too, just personally, is not doing a lot on the weekends, because I feel like I'm online for what I do all the time, Monday through Friday. And so I really try to take like a little less time on the weekends or more time for myself to spend with my family and friends, whoever it may be. And I think a big thing to think about is like social media is not life or death. Like your family, your friends, they're right in front of you. Spend time with them. Put your phone away. You're out to eat, put your phone away, And I'm I always, camera eats first, I take photos of everything.
I say that too.
Yeah.
My kids, no, they do not take a bite. My husband does not take a bite.
Really?
Especially if it's a pretty plated dish or like a really pretty cocktail or something. Yeah.
I know, I can't.
First too. Yeah.
Yeah. I can't help it. I'm like, oh, it looks so pretty. I need to get that. And so I'll do that. But then I put my phone away and I'm not like posting it on stories, right? I'll do it later. And so I think knowing like what your boundaries are too and what your routine is, but trying to put like 15 minutes aside for engagement or 30 minutes. And you can include that with like creating your story, like your 1 or 2 stories in the day. Maybe it's in the morning and you just put it into that morning routine, Monday through Friday. I think it'll help you realize like, okay, it's kind of like a gym membership. Like I'm going to go on my phone for 15 minutes today because it's going to help my business. And then you don't have to worry about it for the rest of the day. And if you get on it more, fantastic. But I think trying not to stress about like, oh my gosh, I have to be on it all the time. And I think there's this obsession over it, which is, we all have it to some degree. We've all been lost in the scroll. Okay. So, but like in 2025, let's try to be more present in our people that we're with and making that part of our daily life, but keeping social media. Yeah. Just staying consistent, I think is key.
So again, golly, Maura, it's those little tiny tweaks that you give me that I feel like are these little hidden treasures. When I asked that question, I was thinking more of the boundary of what I put out there. And I never thought of engagement back, because I will tell you this, when I put a reel, now I want to make you proud, right? Because I know you're watching, but when I put a reel and I see, and you're so good about this, you'll comment like, love it, or great idea or something. It makes my heart happy. It makes me smile. It makes me feel seen when you do that. And it makes me like you. It makes me like you. Not that I didn't before. And if you didn't comment, I would still like you. But when you put it back on us, that our time on social media could actually be not just putting stuff out there, but engaging with people and building those relationships, that just changed everything for me in my mind.
Yay. I'm so happy. Yeah.
Thank you.
I really, I want to push that more and more, because I think, again, back to the authentic part of just like Instagram was started to be a social platform, but you should think about it as a way to connect and then get offline. Like, who do you want to connect with? But then be like you and I, we'd be like, let's connect on Instagram. Let's go grab a drink at 5 o'clock because we should celebrate our day, right? So I see Instagram kind of like that is like, how can I take things off the app? And so I think switching that mindset around like I have to be on this all the time and more like I'm going to engage and try to find my new besties that have to do with business, whatever you're searching for in your life. We're all searching for something, I think, in some aspect. And sometimes it's community. So what communities can you engage with and then try to get off the app so that you can light up your life and then not burn out, you know?
So I'm sure this will not be trending on social media because social media wants you to stay on the app. But I feel like hashtag off the app is like really good, right?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. What is the purpose for it? The purpose for it is to cultivate relationships and to take and transfer things from a screen to a person, to a conversation, etc. So that's really good. You heard it here first. Hashtag off the app. Okay.
Yes, let's go. That's
going to
be our
I'm the
hashtag.
social media girl. Yeah, hashtag off the app. But it's so true. And really, I think this leads us to one more thought that I wanted you to cover, which was, and you kind of already touched on it. We can look at likes and comments and analytics and numbers. And I know sometimes we can obsess about that, right? How many people liked it? How many people followed me? So what's the secret between understanding that, and there is a value to it, and really having that community that we built? And I know you already really started to touch on that. So if there's just anything else you want to add to it.
Yeah, I think the one thing I want to add to this is for the people that do want to look at metrics, and I think that's fine. And when we were in a like mastermind together, you and I, Rory Vaden said something that stood out to me, and I think you as well, where it's like, do 100 podcasts, don't look at any of the data, then go back and look at it. And I think this is, you can go either way. You can either say, I'm going to post for a whole month and then look back at my metrics, which is what I do for all my clients. Or you can try, and I recommend doing that, or even 2 months. Like, just get in the process of posting and showing up authentically online and consistently. And a friend of ours too said, like, get cozy online. Like, just get cozy with being yourself online, right? And then look back at the metrics. But when you do, for my people that love data and metrics, and I'm with you, is look at engagement rate and look at engagements when you're looking at what content's resonating with your community so you can provide more value to them. Because you'll start to see like a trend of like, okay, they're starting to like this content, so I should do more of this. Engagement rate, the reason why it's really important is because if you have a small following, even under 1,000, but you're seeing like 1,000 views, like that's incredible. First of all, congratulations. And second, you're looking at it engagement rate by reach. So you're looking at how many engagements am I having by the amount of people that have viewed it. And so that number will be able to tell you like how well you're doing. I always say, like, don't look at impressions. Impressions are great. Visibility is great. Yeah, to grow your following. But when you're starting out too, you want to really build a community. And this helped me in the beginning of when I was growing mine. Like, I don't have a lot of followers, and you guys will see that. I have like a little over 1,400, close to 15. And the reason that I get engagement, or like the reason I had referrals in the beginning where I never had to cold call anyone. And I'm very thankful for that. But it was because I started engaging on social. I had like 0 followers, but I started to get some, but they were loyal. And I was looking at my information like, okay, they're engaging, with a lot of the motivational stuff, really. But it was like engagement rate is really what I'm looking at for myself and my clients. Like, is my content resonating with the people seeing it? And so that's what I would recommend for anyone listening is don't worry about follower count. There'll be months that you might get 100 and then you might see 10. Okay, it's fine. Really focus on the people you have and cultivating like the engagement there and nurturing that audience that you already have instead of focusing. So, by looking at that metric, basically you can see how you want to create content for the future.
That's really smart. And I was, again, I don't know what was going on with my algorithm, whether it's, again, packing kids' lunches, or there's this guy who shows like his 9 to 5 every day and then his 5 to 9. And it's very boring and it's not, but people love him and he has a huge following. And somebody asked him how he built his following. And he said he just decided he was going to show up every single day for a year. Mm-hmm. And then he was going to figure out if it was working. So it's the same thing, like you said, and that Rory taught us that sometimes we don't have enough data to go on because we just haven't done it enough. So we see people love it when I'm, when I'm funny, or people love it when I'm serious, or people love it when it's my dog, or people love it, right? Mm-hmm. And so we only know that when we go ahead and just go for it and get out there and do it.
So true.
Okay. Well, this has been such a wealth of knowledge. Was there anything, Maura, that we missed that you feel like is a little critical inch or a little critical piece? And at the same time, will you also tell people where to find you if they want more of you, which I know they do?
Thanks. I've loved being on here. So thank you so much, first of all. And second, I don't know if there's anything really, but what I did want to mention is that if you follow me at Social with Maura on Instagram and you send me a DM or anything, just know like you're really getting me and we can become friends online. And if you ever want to meet for a drink or coffee, like I would be happy to meet with you, virtually or not. But I really just want people to know that I want to help them and really pass that baton on like my mentor did to me and really help people. So if there's something that you have a question about and there's like really no silly answer because Instagram is complicated, I get it. So feel free to DM me. I just want you guys to all know that. And I will try to help you as best I can and review reels or content of your questions or whatever you have after this episode. So that's the main thing I wanted people to take away.
That's fantastic. And I will say if you start to follow Maura or Maura, whoever you follow on there, and you'll also really be hungry all the time because she is amazing at sharing some of her delicious finds that she has. So just be prepared, have a snack before you follow and then engage. So I love it. Your DMs are open. Thank you for being so generous and that. I really appreciate it. And I love the way you think. I love the way you operate. I love the way you serve people. And because I love all of that, I have a little gift for you. And it is a pretend bonus hour. So I know, like, yay, boo, right? It's pretend, but it's the idea of a bonus hour, Maura, that does not come from any of the other 24. So you get an extra one. And I just want to know, what would you do with that extra hour?
Yeah, I think it's so important. I'm so excited. Thank you for my gift. And I think really what I would do with an extra hour is take that hour for myself. And whatever it might be in that day, maybe it's like running a bubble bath or just like relaxing on the couch, not looking at my phone, my computer, and just taking some mental breaks. I think that would be what I would do right now, at least, and with my extra hour.
Well, then my prayer for you is that within the next week or 2 weeks, that you would be able to carve out that hour just for you. And then later you'll have to tell us about it, how it went.
Yeah.
Not during, because phones off, hashtag off the app, and have that time for yourself. Well, I know that you have been such a gift, literally, to all of us today for just giving us a different perspective on dreaming and life path and where we could go when we feel like we're called to do something that utilizes our talents and who we are. And then just to show up, genuinely engage with people and grow together. So thank you, my friend. It has been a delight to have you on. And I know this is the first of many podcasts because you have so much to share with the world.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here, and I can't wait to connect with you all too. And hopefully, Kelly, you and I will meet again in person.
That's the goal. We got to see each other once, and now we definitely need that coffee or wine, but we'll just start in the morning and we'll just go throughout the day. And
It'll be our extra hour for ourselves, right? We'll be together.
Yeah, we can double up. I'll give mine. You give yours. We've got 2 hours now. No, that is perfect. And you have been the perfect person for us here on Perfect Dish, where it's not really about being perfect, but it is about progress and it is about living our beautifully imperfect lives. So thank you again to our beautiful guest, Maura. And till next time, you guys, bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Perfect-ish Time Management Podcast. Let's keep the fun going. Follow me on social and join our Facebook community. And if you're ready for some one-on-one time management coaching to reach the top of your game without burnout or guilt, I'd love to chat. Book a free interest call using the link in the show notes or send me a DM. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a 5-star review and share it with a friend who's ready to master their time too. Remember, we're in this together, making real progress towards becoming perfect-ish.